So, continuing our discussion, we are now on baiting. Okay, so what is baiting? Baiting is a social engineering attack that plays on human curiosity or greed. Okay, the attacker offers something that is enticing, like free software, exclusive downloads, or even a USB drive left in a public place. Okay, to lure the victim into taking the bait. Okay. Once the victim engages, okay, they're often tricked into downloading malware, okay, onto their system or entering their credentials, okay, on a fake website. Now, baiting uh, can take in physical forms such as leaving an infected uh, USB stick or flash drive in an office, or in parking lot, or in online forms like fake giveaways, okay, which promises, for example, prizes or freebies. Okay, it's a reminder that in cybersecurity, if something seems too good, okay, or too good to be true, it usually is. And caution is always the best defense. Now, popular examples, you have a malicious USB drives, wherein an attackers leave infected USB drives in public places, hoping that someone will plug them in. Ano pa? Fake movie or software downloads and gift card scams. Okay? So, now, what are the recommended solutions? We disable auto run for external devices. We use endpoint security software and educate employees on social engineering or educate your colleagues, okay, if that may be, on social engineering. Okay. Tailgating. Tailgating is a physical security threat where an attacker gains access to a restricted area by simply following an authorized person inside, okay, such as, for example, in a data center. It often exploits a basic human trait, which is politeness. For example, someone might hold the door open for a person carrying a box or appearing to be an employee, okay, not realizing that they are letting an intruder into a secure space. Now, once inside, okay, the attacker can engage in corporate spionage spionage, okay, data theft, or even sabotage. How? By passing all digital security measures, okay, because they are now physically in the building. Now, this highlights that a cybersecurity is not just about firewalls and passwords. It's also it also involves a strong physical security policies like requiring ID checks and discouraging piggybacking into secure areas. Okay, so yeah, popular examples: you have unauthorized entry into an office, you have piggybacking into data centers, gaining access to sensitive IT infrastructure, impersonating delivery personnel. Okay, attackers pose as couriers, even at home. There are a lot of uh, cases now that someone impersonates to be a delivery personnel. Okay, so they can now gain an access within your perimeter or within your residence. Okay, popular solutions. Okay, implement badge and access control systems, security awareness and employee training, or again, training with your colleagues or with your parents. Okay? Use security guards and surveillance cameras. Ano pa? For tone technology or tool, uh, you can make use of biometric authentication as well, okay, to prevent unauthorized entry, okay, yeah, surveillance systems, okay. Then we have the network threats, okay. These are attacks that exploit weakness in network infrastructure, which is to intercept, disrupt, or manipulate communications. Unlike malware or social engineering, which often target individual systems or people, network threats aim at the very pathways that allow data to flow. Okay, one common example is a man in the middle or the MITM. Okay, it's where an attacker secretly intercepts communication between two parties. Okay, the victim thinks they are communicating directly with someone else, but in reality, the attacker is listening in or even altering the messages. Now, another type is a denial of service. Okay, denial of service attack, and its larger scale version. The distributed denial of service attack, okay, which is these attacks are or these attacks overload a system or network with excessive traffic, okay, rendering it unavailable to legitimate users. Now, packet sniffing. Okay, packet sniffing is another network threat where attackers capture and analyze data packets, okay, traveling across a network. If this data is not encrypted, sensitive information like passwords or personal details can be stolen. Then finally, you have your DNS spoofing. It manipulates the internet's address book, the DNS system. Okay, so that when users try to visit a legitimate site, they are being redirected to a uh, malicious one. Okay, now network threats reminds us that uh, reminds us why securing network infrastructure through encryption, monitoring, and robust configurations is just as critical as protecting individual devices. Okay? Uh, Actually, this is a. I just do not know if the sounds will also be recorded, but for the sake na lang, I'll just be providing the link, okay, in the description part of this video. Okay, next. So man in the middle, or in a MITM or in a man in the middle attack, an attacker will secretly intercept communication between two parties. Um, it might be like you and your bank's website, okay, without either side realizing it. Okay. Now, these attacks can be passive, where the attacker simply eavesdrop, okay, on the communication to gather sensitive data like login credentials, or active, okay, where they are uh, where they alter the data in transit, okay, for example, changing account details during a transaction, okay. So this can be again passive or active. Passive in the form of eavesdropping, or active in forms of modifying data in transit. Now, MITM attacks are especially common in or on unsecured public Wi-Fi networks, okay, where attackers can easily intercept unencrypted traffic. Now, they typically exploit uh, weak encryption or poor authentication, okay, which is why using HTTPS, VPNs, and secure Wi-Fi connections is critical for a protection. Now, popular example, the evil twin attack, okay, a fake Wi-Fi hotspot, okay, you create a Wi-Fi hotspot that will trick users into connecting and allowing data interception, okay. The SSL stripping downgrades secure HTTPS connections to HTTP, making data readable. Email hijacking as well. Now, how to or what are the possible solutions? We ensure HTTPS, TLS, and VPN usage, avoid unsecured Wi-Fi networks, and enable multi or MFA, multi-factor authentication. Then you have your denial of service and the distributed denial of service attacks. Okay, these attacks aim to overwhelm a target like a website, server, or network with excessive traffic, causing it to slow down or crash completely. Okay. Now, what's the main goal? To make the service unavailable or uh, to make service unavailable to legitimate users. Okay? A DOS attack typically comes from a single system, while DDoS uses multiple systems, often compromised devices, okay, forming what we call a botnet. Now, this makes DDoS attacks far more powerful and harder to stop, wherein an attackers use various techniques to flood their targets, such as uh, SYN floods or the SYN floods that exploit the handshake process in TCP connections, the UDP floods that bombard systems with connectionless traffic, or the application layer attacks that mimic normal user behavior but at a massive scale. Now, DOS and DDoS can cause huge financial losses and reputational damage, which is why organizations invest heavily in traffic filtering, intrusion detection, and scalable infrastructure to defend against them. Now, some popular example, you have the Mirai botnet, the GitHub DDoS attacks, and the Cloudflare DDoS attacks. Some recommended solutions, we use the DDoS protection services like services from Cloudflare, Akamai, or the AWS Shield. We rate limiting and traffic filtering. Then we deploy intrusion prevention systems. Okay. Then here comes the packet sniffing. Packet sniffing is the act of capturing and analyzing data, okay, or data packets, okay, as they travel across a network. It's like listening in on a conversation, but in this case, the conversation is between computers. Now, packet sniffing itself is not always bad. Okay, it's often used by network administrators for legitimate troubleshooting and monitoring. However, in the wrong hands, okay, or with wrong hands, it becomes a powerful tool for malicious data interception. Attackers attackers frequently use packet sniffing as part of the MITM attack, okay, to steal credentials, financial information, or other sensitive data, especially when the data is not encrypted. Now, Packet sniffing, or what makes it more concerning, is that it works on both wired and wireless networks, meaning any unprotected connection can be a potential target. Some popular example, you have your ARP spoofing, the Wi-Fi eavesdropping, and session hijacking. Okay. Recommended solutions, we use encrypted connections, we disable unnecessary network services, and implement network segmentation. Okay. The use of Wireshark. Wireshark is a widely used packet analysis tool for monitoring network traffic. You also have TCP-dump, a command line packet analyzer for Unix or Linux systems. You have your Kaine and Abel as technology or tool that can be used for spoofing, a tool for password recovery and sniffing network traffic. Now we have your DNS spoofing. DNS spoofing is an attack where an attacker redirects users to fake websites by tampering with DNS records. Remember, DNS is like the internet's phone book. It translates website names into IP addresses. Now, if an attacker manipulates this process, you might think you're visiting a legitimate site, but but actually you're not. Okay, you're actually on a malicious one. Now, this technique is often used for phishing, spreading malwares, or stealing sensitive information like login credentials. Okay. Now, DNS spoofing usually exploit weaknesses in DNS caching, okay, or misconfigured DNS servers, which make it possible to inject false information into the system. Now, it's also commonly combined with MITM, okay, where your attacker will intercept and manipulate the traffic to ensure victims are seamlessly redirected to harmful sites. Now, this is why DNS security measures like DNSSEC and proper server configurations are crucial in modern networks. So here are some popular examples of DNS spoofing. You have your Kaminsky attack, the Brazilian bank, okay, the rogue DNS servers. Some of the popular and recommended solutions. Okay, DNS spoof, also tool, okay, for DNS spoofing. The DNS script, ano ba ba? The DNS script encrypts DNS queries to prevent spoofing. You have your Google public DNS as well. Now, let's proceed with web and application security threats. These threats specifically target vulnerabilities in websites and applications. This is to gain unauthorized access or execute malicious code. Since so much of what we do today relies on web apps, from banking to our social media, we understand these threats is crucial. Now, one common attack is SQL injection, okay, or SQLI. This involves uh, this involves injecting malicious SQL queries into input fields to manipulate a website database, potentially allowing attackers to view, modify, or even delete data. The next, you have your cross-site scripting. Okay, so commonly referred to as the XSS. Uh, it is where an attackers inject malicious scripts into web pages. Now, when users visit the page, the script will run in their browser and often stealing cookies, session data, or other sensitive information. Then we have the cross-site request forgery, which tricks users into performing actions they didn't intend. Now, finally, we have the broken authentication and session hijacking. This occurs when weaker authentication mechanisms like poorly managed password or session IDs. This would allow attackers to take over user accounts entirely. Now, these threats reminds us why secure coding practices, regular testing, and strong authentication behaviors are essential in web application development. Now, some popular examples are shown here, okay, and they're popular or recommended solutions. Okay, then you have your cross-site scripting (XSS). Okay, XSS in attack is an attack where an attacker will inject malicious scripts into web pages that covers other users' view. Okay. Now, when an unsuspecting users visit these pages, the uh, script executes in their browsers without their knowledge. Now, what can this do? Okay, can do a lot. Okay, attackers can steal session cookies, which may allow them to hijack user accounts. They can deface websites. They can uh, alter how they appear to users or redirect victims to malicious sites, okay, which are designed to steal information or deliver malware. Now, XSS is typically targets JavaScript-enabled applications, which are common in modern web development. Now, there are three main types of XSS. You have your stored XSS, okay, where the malicious code is permanently stored on the server, like in a database or comment section. Okay, you have your reflected XSS. Okay, the reflected XSS is where the malicious code is reflected off. Okay, um, is reflected of a web server in response to user input, such as a search query. Now, lastly, you have your DOM-based XSS, which exploits vulnerabilities in the client-side scripts themselves. Now, XSS highlights the importance of proper input validation, output encoding, and the use of modern security headers on a web applications. So we have here some examples of XSS and their popular or recommended solutions. Okay. Now, CSF, CSRF or the cross-site request forgery. It's an attack that forces an authenticated user to perform actions they didn't intend to do. Okay, what makes it this dangerous is that it exploits the trust. Okay, it exploits the trust a website has in the users' browsers. Okay, particularly maybe through session cookies or authentication tokens. Now, here's how it typically works. An attacker tricks a login user into clicking a phishing link or visiting a site containing embedded malicious code. Now, without the user realizing such, okay, uh, their browser sends a valid request to the target site, like transferring funds, changing passwords, or even deleting important records. Now, because the request appears to come from a legitimate authenticated user, the website often processes it without questions. Now, defending against the cross-site request forgery involves using anti-CSRF tokens, okay? Enforcing re-authentication for sensitive actions, and educating users to avoid suspicious links. Here are some popular examples of CSRF and the recommended solutions. Okay, we implement same-site cookie, you use MFA, and use CSRF token. Right? We have the okay broken authentication and session hijacking. This threat occurs when uh, authentication mechanisms are weak or improperly configured, okay, leaving our accounts vulnerable. Okay, this is where attackers can now exploit the weaknesses to steal the user credentials or hijack active sessions. Now, for instance, if a session tokens are exposed or transmitted without encryption, an attacker can intercept them and gain full access to the victim's account. Similarly, okay, weak or reused passwords make it easier for attackers to bypass authentication entirely. Now, the the consequences can be severe, okay, which can range from unauthorized access to sensitive data or to complete account takeover. Okay. Now, to mitigate this risk, systems must enforce strong password, okay, secure session management, and encrypted communications. Here are some popular examples of the broken authentication and session hijacking, as well as the recommended solutions. Now, we have the insider threat characteristics, but we will start from here for our part 3. Thank you.